Hello and welcome to Trying Times. If you've listened to the show before, then hi, my name's Carmen. Welcome back. We already know this, we've gone through this. And if you're new here, then we're basically besties now. So welcome and thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. Moving on from that, I've been thinking a lot lately, and I mean, I do all the time anyways, like that's not really anything new. I think everyone kind of always is. But for me specifically, I've been thinking a lot lately about the whole topic of learning and that sort of interest in always being able to understand or learn something new. So I know for many people that something like school can be exciting if they're studying about something they're very passionate about. But on the other hand, school may not be the most favored place for some people. And I think there's many reasons for that and for both of those things. And I think honestly, both sides are completely understandable because when you're younger and in middle school or like even high school, really, like I think high school is kind of the first exposure you have to getting to have like somewhat of a choice, or so you think you have a choice, I guess. There are so many specific types of mandatory classes that you have to take, and there's really no choice in it whatsoever. And there's a great chance that a lot of those things aren't necessarily going to be everyone's favorite, right? Like I don't think there's a very great chance that like 50% of your class, no shade to math, but I mean, I don't think 50% of your class for math is going to be like, I love this class. I cannot wait for this class. I can't wait for this test. I mean, I've never heard that. I never heard that throughout my high school experience. And I never heard that furthermore into like university, albeit I studied something more so in the arts. So there wasn't a whole lot of math, if I'm being honest. There was statistics and such that you need to know and certain things and levels that work within different scales, I think, for different media, but there's not a lot of formulas and like math that you learn in high school, at least that I saw carrying on into like university. So I think there's a very rare chance that you're going to meet a group of people all in high school, like at the age of 16, that are going to be like, I love math, at least not consistently in one class, like one group. Like it's kind of the thing you have to do. Same can go for science, the same can go for English, and I don't know about really anywhere else, but in Canada, specifically Ontario, I should say, those are like the 3 mandatory classes that you kind of have to take throughout the entire duration of high school. And I know for me, the one out of all those that I didn't entirely mind was English, because I enjoyed reading literature, I enjoyed studying it, I enjoyed writing about it and that sort of thing. So for me, I had like one of the 3 I could tolerate. I was so brutally awful with math and science. Those were the 2 things I was not good at. And to this day, I'm still not a fan of them. I can have an appreciation for the people that do appreciate it and do it well, but I am not one of those people. And so I think in a way that makes something like school feel at times maybe not like the most fun place to be, being that you don't have a whole lot of a choice there. And to a degree, I think obviously your education and your level of what you are learning about and even how much you're learning about that is very much sort of controlled. I mean, it makes sense. Obviously, that's kind of what school is to a degree. But then from there, it's totally up to each person, obviously, in what they feel about learning and furthering their education. If they are interested in that, maybe they're not, and that's fine. It's totally up to each person from there if they want to or wish to pursue further studies by going to university or college. And I'm just going to start by saying this whole episode is not going to be about that, by the way. Like, I want to talk about learning and not just the general basis of it, but more so how nowadays we're able to continue our interest in learning in so many fields or topics and wherever or whenever we want, which is so cool. I also want to apologize in advance to anyone who might be thinking this episode is for like online classes through high school or university or anything, because it doesn't really touch on that. And I understand the title of this episode is Online Learning. Some of it you might be able to relate to and some of it you might not know about, so you might find it fascinating. I don't know. We'll see. But I will say this much. I did take a few online courses when I was in university and I enjoyed them, honestly, for the flexibility of them and like my schedule, because they weren't like another thing I had to kind of rush to. It was something I could kind of do, obviously within certain deadlines, but like it was something I could do on my own accords, which I liked. It gave you kind of that sense of more power over your schedule, I guess, or more like control over organizing your life to a degree, because I think during a time like college and university, that can be very hard. I think I enjoyed them for that. But I'll be honest, I didn't find them as hands-on as my in-person classes. And I know that's been a big thing for many people lately. And if you're able to relate to that, then go ahead and shoot me a message on my Instagram at the Trying Times Podcast, or you can click on the link in the description of this episode to send me a voicemail about that, because I think that would be really cool to hear more about you from that and hear about your experience with that, because I think a lot of people can have a generally similar experience, but not every class is going to be the same. Not every school is going to be the same. So I'd love to hear your experience on that. And if you've not taken one for school, then I just want to hear about if you've taken an online course for anything ever, because they got really big over the course of being in lockdown, I think. And it's become a much more popular thing now. And I think it's really interesting. So I'd love to know what you're learning about, or what you would like to learn about for that matter. So yeah, message me and let's chat. But I think the whole overall landscape, kind of like I said, of learning has changed and adjusted in so many ways in the last 3 to 5 years. So I feel like even though I graduated 4 years ago, it feels so much longer than that, to be honest. So throwing it back a bit to just recently when the world was shut down, like I was saying, I was feeling pretty cooped up and just annoyed, to be honest. And I think the first week of sitting indoors and not going anywhere and really not being able to go anywhere was okay, because I was okay, cool, I get to just chill here, there's nothing else to do. I think that little bit of it was okay, but then it got very boring very quickly. I kind of got over the same motions of feeling like I was in the same routine every single day and wanted to introduce myself to a new habit or new something, if that makes any sense. So this might sound funny, but it was just I was annoyed at scrolling through Instagram, and then TikTok became a thing, and it was just sort of the same mind-numbing pattern in a way, where I was just scrolling away, and that was really it. So I wanted to expand my knowledge in something that interested me and kind of wake my brain up a little bit. So at the time, I was really interested in learning more about the life of Alexander McQueen, who was a British fashion designer and found and created his own label back in the early 90s. And I knew going into this, there wasn't necessarily going to be a course about him online or in a school, obviously. I mean, there could be. If there is, I don't know, send that my way. But from what I knew, I didn't think there was. So I just kind of took a notebook and started to research him and his career and his life. And I honestly did this for about an hour over the course of a few days. So a few hours overall of just kind of researching and learning something I knew nothing about. I think it was generally an enriching kind of experience for me, because it was interesting to learn something new about someone that was of interest to me. And I think the biggest thing I learned through this too was that when you're learning something fully on your own accords, you get to choose what you want to learn, how much you want to learn, and when you want to learn about that. It allows you to have that somewhat creative control about your own education while still being able to learn about whatever it is that is of interest to you, which is huge. Again, that's not something we entirely get to do through school always. So I think learning about something in your own way, no matter what that is a totally different experience, and it's kind of exciting. I know it might feel tough at times because there's no one necessarily telling you about it always. You could watch videos or learn online in any way, but I think obviously a lot of that comes from if you want to do that. Going off of that, I wanted to continue on and learn some more, but in a bit of a different format. And that's when I came across the site Coursera. This is not in any way a sponsored anything whatsoever. I genuinely just saw the site being advertised to me on Instagram and thought to check it out. And I was so shocked because they have something quite literally for everyone. So if you're interested in learning about the history of fashion like I was, or sustainable fashion, there's courses for you. If you're interested in graphic design, there's courses for you. If you're interested in psychology, there are so many courses on that, which is crazy. There's a range of topics in that subject. So there's literally courses for a number of subjects that I wouldn't even have been able to imagine. So I just recently completed a course on there that was titled Brilliant Passionate You. And I feel like that sounds funny, but the whole focus of this course was basically how you can work on your mindset or alter your mindset a little to understand something each and every day that makes your life exciting and what out of that represents happiness to you. So the course itself focuses mainly on core subjects like mindfulness and compassion, core values, and then qualities in life that allow you to be your best self. So overall, it just felt like a really cool class. The description of it sounded really cool. So I was intrigued. So I took it. And I can say the thing I love the most about this was that I could work on it once or twice a week for a couple hours. And It works through a 6-week program with 6 modules. So it allowed me to work at my own pace and incorporate that into my life a lot better. Like, obviously, yes, there were a few deadlines, or like you had to work through certain assignments and then do readings and whatnot, but it also incorporates videos and like live discussions, which is kind of cool, which, by the way, is totally like voluntary if you want to participate or not, which I enjoyed, because one of the things that drove me the craziest, I think, about school was when a teacher would ask a question and then no one would raise their hand to answer. So basically, you were all sitting there like deer in headlights, and then the teacher would go ahead and pick on someone to answer the question that clearly no one had their hand up to answer. This happened to me a number of times because I'm convinced to this day a lot of teachers could probably smell the fear off of me. I hated raising my hand in class, and I don't think it was until like university where I willingly started to put my hand up. And honestly, I use the word willingly very loosely too, because I had to put my hand up to a degree to get participation marks. Otherwise, I would not be getting a passing mark in a certain element that contributed to my overall like grade in the course. So I had to put my hand up. So I started contributing to discussions and group conversations a lot more in university, because it was something that was like very important in my program and generally to my grade. So I think it was all right. Like, it taught me a good lesson and it got me involved in conversations more, which I really enjoyed. And I mean, obviously now I'm sitting here recording myself having a conversation. So clearly that passed on to me in a good way, I would think. But in high school and in middle school, it was the worst feeling in the world. Like, I would get picked on by a teacher, and even if I had remotely any idea what the answer to that question was, or maybe I did have the answer and I just didn't want to say it because I was afraid of being wrong, because I think that's a normal thing a lot of kids are scared of, I would never put my hand up. I just didn't want to answer. And honestly, I just want to give a big shout out to the kids that don't feel that and would always raise their hands and like be the same like 3 kids that would answer questions for the whole class, because you guys were OGs for that. I think something along the lines of that is great, because they still contribute that like in this sort of a platform, but you don't have to participate if you don't want to. Obviously, if you do, I think like it's cool. It's kind of like another step you're taking part of in this class, but it's something that you don't have to do. So I think that was really cool. And genuinely, I really loved that it allowed me to overall like work at my own pace and incorporate that into my life a lot better, because instead of me being like, oh, I'm taking this course, I have to go do this, it was more so like, oh yeah, I'm taking a course, okay, cool, I'm gonna work on this for like an hour and then yeah, I'll wait till like next week. Not to sound lazy, but it was something that just balanced a lot better than obviously like taking a full course load and being like a full-time student. I think naturally this would be totally different than that. So I enjoyed that, and I can honestly say that after having done the course, I felt like it allowed me to understand things from a new perspective in part, and then also be able to place more gratitude in my life for each day, which I think is like the biggest thing, and it feels so nice. So I would recommend that course to anyone who feels interested in that sort of like mindfulness work, or working on gratitude, or like finding their core values. Any of those things or all of the above, like go ahead and take that course. It's really cool. I think it was offered by University of Michigan, and I could be wrong, but I believe that was the course. So yeah, if you're interested in that, go ahead and check that out. I think next I want to try maybe doing a course on positive psychology, because it was recommended to me when I finished that first course. So I kind of read up on that a little bit, and I was like, ooh, it's kind of similar to the course I just done, but definitely a little bit more scientific. Goes into a lot more than I think just the social aspect of things, but more so the way that we as humans work. So I think that would be really interesting. I should also add, by the way, that these courses have the option to be completed for free. So if you're sitting there and you're like, hey, that sounds cool, but I don't want to do that because I don't want to pay for school, you don't technically have to with these, which is really great, unless of course you get like a membership with the site. I don't have one, but if you do, then that unlocks like further abilities, obviously, but that's totally up to you and what feels right for you. So you can join at literally almost any time for most of their courses, which is really cool. And they're super adaptable to your schedule, which is really cool. And like mentioned earlier, I do think that having that choice in what you want to learn about and working at your own pace makes the excitement of learning so much better overall. So yeah, I think it's just overall a pretty cool experience. And so with that, I want to ask you if you've ever taken an online course. And again, this could be like in any really environment. So whether that's through school, on your own time, have you ever taken one? And if so, what was it about? I would love to know what you're learning about because, again, I think obviously if all of us could go to school and talk about all of the things that interested us, it'd be so cool to learn about other people that way. But we have to learn about kind of like the same things, funny enough, to be able to move on and understand what it is that we enjoy in life and what we have an interest in and what we want to learn about. So, wow, wisdom. But yeah, I'd love to learn more about the things that interest you the most. So please go ahead and let's chat about that. Because I mean, you just sat here and listened to me about what interested me during COVID at least. So I'd love to know more about what interests you. And to chat some more, go ahead and follow the show on Instagram at the Trying Times Podcast, where you can shoot me a message if you like. I would love to chat with you. So please go ahead and do that. Or we can talk through voicemail. So you can go ahead and visit the link in the description. And if you click on that, you're able to leave me a voicemail by recording, which is so cool. And I can listen to that, even add that into an episode later on in the future if you're interested. So if you are interested in that or comfortable in that, just let me know in the voice message and I'd be glad to feature your message later on. So that's pretty much it for today, I think. Thank you so much for sitting here and listening. And I really hope you were able to learn something new from this episode. And if not that, I hope you were just able to enjoy it overall. So we'll chat again soon, okay? Bye.